Hi, everyone. I'm Barbara Schluraff. I'm the broker owner of Century 21 Ocean. And today I would like to welcome my friend and a great industry expert in the insurance field, Chris Delbridge. He's with Urban Young. He's been educating me a lot on the current insurance market and all the changes and things we're seeing. So today we're going to talk about three topics. The first one basically is can you provide some clarity, Chris, on why our phones are ringing daily from our customers saying, "Oh my goodness, my insurance policy went up, drastically." Chris just told me 46%, and what we're expecting down the road with this and why this is happening.
No, Barbara, thank you, first of all, for having me. I appreciate that. And I'd love to give some clarity on that because honestly, I mean, everyone's getting a piece of paper in the mail and looking at it, and they're having to pay way more than they ever expected for something they can't see, smell, or touch, and that's called insurance. So when it comes to it, I mean, for the past 5 years, we've accounted for, I think it's $15 billion in litigated claims just in Florida alone. I don't have the numbers for last year, but for the year prior to that, we accounted for 86% of the entire nation's litigated claims. And what that means is basically like someone like, I don't want to, throw any shade at any industry, but I'll give you an example of roofer knocking on a door saying, "Hey, if you sign this document, I can get you a free roof if you just pay your deductible." Long story short, that was called an assignment of benefits, where you're giving the rights of the claim to the roofer, and not as the policyholder, you have no more rights to it. So that's a big problem because they were asking a lot of the times for way more than was needed to actually replace the roof. But at the end of the day, they didn't really care most of the time because they would just give it to their plaintiff lawyer, and the attorney multiplier in the state of Florida, I believe it was around like 3 to 1. I've seen a claim that was $85,000 paid. Only $15,000 went to the actual homeowner itself for the roof. The rest went to the roofer and the lawyer, mostly the lawyer. So with the compound effect of that, with a lot of homeowners, obviously in the state of Florida, that's kind of put us in this instance where a lot of companies have had a tough time combating that and scared to not pay the claim, because at the end of the day, they'll just have to pay more in court if they didn't. So it's exhausted a lot of resources with a lot of carriers when they go get their own policy, which is called reinsurance every year, which is basically like, let's say if there was a catastrophe, like an entire, hurricane went up the entire state of Florida, and insurance companies don't have enough cash on hand to pay their clients or their policyholders. They have to dip into their own policy called reinsurance, which they pay their deductible, and that's how they can pay. So with the amount of claims year over year, every time they go get their own insurance, it's like 50 to 75% higher than the previous year. So that kind of gives a perspective of, hey, this is why you're getting an increase on when you find something in the mail for what you have to pay for the next year. But also in this market, with all these litigated claims, these companies have had to tighten up, which means that anyone buying a new house and needing new insurance, or somebody that gets canceled, non-renewed, anything like that, they have to go to this well where just completely, I mean, there's just not a lot of water in it, to be completely honest with you. So with that, when there's shrinking options, that influences price, which means you pay more for something. And like you were saying, I mean, just from an average within our agency, to give a greater perspective, I mean, we had a 46% increase on homeowners insurance within the agency. We got 14,000 policies. I mean, it's a lot of people. It's not everyone in the state of Florida, but everyone in the entire state is being affected by this. And as you mentioned, we were going to talk about some other stuff, but there are some changes to give a perspective of where things are going from here. But that's kind of, hey, this is why you're getting this thing in the mail. And it's a lot more because these companies are having to pay their own insurance, which means that they have to raise your price for them to pay their price, because of the way that statutes were written in Florida and taken advantage of for a very long time.
Excellent. So one quick question before we go to our second topic, but so is that you said the entire state of Florida, not just 3 miles from the coast? Is that
right?
Correct?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, like South Florida has been affected by it a whole lot sooner than in Brevard County where we are. We have our headquarters in Orlando, which is a higher claim frequency area. So that's been a tighter market than in comparison to Brevard County. But it's affected everyone. It's slowly trickled everywhere.
Got it. Okay, let's go to our second topic, and that is about legislation changes happening, timing, what we can see coming down the pike. What's the, give us some hope. What's the good news here?
Yeah, I mean, there is hope because finally some things were changed. The assignment of benefits was taken away, which is great. Also, the attorney fee, the one-way attorney fee was taken away as of January 1st. So that is very good for the future. And that will affect us kind of slowly. Unfortunately, it's not going to stop any bleeding overnight. I honestly was hoping for what's called a roof value schedule, which means that basically as your roof gets older, it depreciates as far as instead of paying full replacement costs for it from an insurance perspective. That would have opened up markets overnight. In my opinion, which would help with a pricing standpoint. But because we finally took care of some things that have been looming for years, it really didn't stop the bleeding overnight. And it's probably going to take a year or 2 years to see significant changes in prices. But I don't want to give discouraging. I just want to give some clarity on, hey, this is when you should start to see things getting better. So if you're getting a renewal this year, anytime, you're really not going to see it much.
Okay. So the third topic is the way Chris runs his team. He runs a team like we do here at Century 21 Ocean. We run a small team. We're lean. We formed that so that we could provide what we feel is a higher level of customer service. So if someone's always available to show a property, to answer the phone, we can still live our lives and stay healthy and take care of our families. But provide a high level of customer service. So Chris is going to talk about his preferred customer. He has a name for it. He'll explain, but why he's doing that, and maybe the frustration you're seeing when you're calling to talk to your agent and they're not calling you back, and you're trying to ask questions about your policy and you're not getting return calls, why that's happening. So Chris is going to explain that. Go ahead.
Yeah, thank you. And this is great clarity for all Florida homeowners on this, but every agency is different and built differently. Some agencies service in-house like we do. A lot of agencies outsource service, which means at the end of the day, there's a potential that something could be brought on. You speak to somebody completely different, not even in the same office, maybe in a call center. That's not the same as us. Yes, we have multiple locations. Yes, the hub for our relationship management team who services these policies are located in Melbourne. They service the rest of our 6 locations, including Melbourne. But at the end of the day, everyone, as I mentioned earlier, is being reactive right now in this environment because of the hard market. You're getting these rate increases. Maybe your company went insolvent, or you're getting non-renewed or canceled for whatever reason, and you're having to be reactive with your insurance. Now, the compound effect of that, of how many people are in the state of Florida versus how many people that work at the agency that is associated with that policy, is vastly different. So a lot of people are calling their agent, but not being able to get a hold of them because they're not built to withstand this storm like we are. So we've kind of said, hey, we want to help everyone, but at this point, with how many people there are to help, even within our space, it's difficult to do that and give the same service for somebody that only has one line of business with us, maybe a monoline home, versus somebody that does their home, auto, umbrella, flood insurance, and trusts us to be their full-time agent. So we've separated our relationship management team to a preferred service team, that people that have multiple lines of business. And those are ones that get the best experience. If you call our agency line, you're going to hear an automated system for about 3 minutes telling about the market to kind of hopefully de-escalate somebody from the piece of paper that they just saw in the mail, and kind of give a greater perspective. But then also you're going to speak to somebody that's a little newer within the agency. But if you had multiple lines of business, that's not the case. You would get a line that you call directly in. You speak to the most senior people here. You get annual reviews, the things that you used to be able to do within agencies when it wasn't as hard of a market, to give a perspective for your particular type of insurance and your needs. Everyone's doesn't fit in the same box. And that means that, your policies and where it is on a yearly basis are different from others. And that's why we're going to cater to somebody that does multiple lines of business. We want to give them the best scope and plan to navigate all this. And so nobody has to pick up the phone anymore, because that's at the end of the day what people are doing and having a hard time getting their agent. We want to prevent that. Our big mantra right now is trying to prevent future problems. And when you just have one line of business with us, it's hard to do that because there are going to be future problems and there's not enough people to be able to mitigate all that. When you have multiple, that's where we're saying, hey, we're going to get ahead of the game. We don't want you to have problems because you gave us the right to be your full-time agent.
Mm-hmm. I love that. I love that. And I love what you're doing, Chris. I really, appreciate your time and your knowledge. He really studies the industry and he's been shooting some great videos that inspire me. I've been learning more. So I appreciate you. I wish you all the best in your business and it's great to partner with you. So thanks for your time today.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
God bless. Have a great day, everyone.